What's up, y'all? So it is Saturday the 23rd, and I just got out of Us. It's I think it's one of the Key and Peele guys. Anyways, so this is my take on it. As you see from the previews, let you know there will be spoilers. I don't have the boys with me this time. It was a rated R movie, so I decided to leave them in the house. So, should I put some light on? There we go. So anyways, my initial thoughts of the movie. It's long. It's an extremely long movie, and it can get boring at times. Like, come on, speed up the plot. Speed up the plot. What's this about? It leaves you kind of hanging, like almost in not so much of an interesting hanging, more of a boring hanging. Like, I'm ready for this plot to keep moving. There's some things that I felt could have been cut out. Of course, from the previews, you know, it centers around a black family, and the main character is the black mother. You would think it's about the kids, but it's more about the mother than anything else. The movie kind of jumps around from time frame. It starts off I believe in the 80s, and then it jumps to present day, which I'm assuming is 2018 when it was filmed. So it's basically a story about clones. When the government clones animals, such as when they clone. Excuse me, sorry, been drinking. Not driving, but I had drunk in the theater. So, when the government had cloned goats, that was really big at the time, and then it kind of stopped. So I guess they started cloning humans. And you can clone a person, but you can't clone the soul. So essentially, everybody has a clone, but these people exist in tunnels and undercities, essentially, of the world. So that's kind of what it was about. A little girl goes into a fun house, which is the main character. I'm sorry, I don't know her name. But the main character, the woman with Lupita Nyong'o, her character as a child goes into a fun house full of mirrors. The power cuts out. She ends up seeing an exact replica of herself. And she doesn't know it, but she eventually gets switched out for the clone. As you basically go out through the movie, you won't find that part out till actually the end of the movie. But essentially, it's just about clones and how clones want to feel human, and then they're taking out essentially their doppelganger. They're taking out their real version of themselves. So, it's a thinking man's movie to an extent. I like thinking man movies like Inception. Inception is a really good thinking man's movie. This movie here is kind of like, it's just too long until it gets to the end. Really not a lot of action. For a black man to have written and directed this movie, it doesn't feel like a black family just because of their interaction. Something is wrong with their interaction. They don't seem like the typical black family. Just from the mannerisms, the kid cussing, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. There are some things in the movie that really could have been left out. The plot doesn't pick up whatsoever. I can't stress that enough, how the plot is just so, for the first almost 2 hours, it feels like it's just, dragging. Like, I constantly told myself, man, I'm ready for this movie to be over. It's like watching Captain Marvel. Man, I'm just ready for this movie to be over so I can get to the end. I almost wanted to leave a couple times because I was like, well, whatever. So apparently, there's a biblical verse in the movie. It's Jeremiah 11:11. I haven't gotten a chance to read that yet, but it keeps tying in with the movie. So I felt like you can tell this is from the same director as Get Out, but Get Out was way more interesting than this movie. Us maybe want to get out of the theater. But the acting is okay. Everything was subpar. I wouldn't give it, as high as ratings as it's getting on Rotten Tomatoes. To be honest with you, this is a good C movie. This is a good red box movie. This isn't pay 11 something to go to the Warren Theater to see this opening weekend. And that's kind of sad because I felt like I was very interested in this movie, but it was only based off of the trailer. So the trailer made it look interesting, and eventually when it came to the real movie, it was kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's not something I would go watch again a second time because I would feel like, man, I'm ready for this movie to be done. Let's see. There's not a lot of jump scares. There's nothing that's really going to scare you. I don't know how it's even really rated R. Yeah, I mean, I can think of a couple things, but there's one part of the movie I'll talk about. So the little boy, there's two boys. There's one who wears a mask, and there's one who can put a mask over his head. He seems to be able to control his clone by mimicking the same move. So if he does like this, his clone will do like that. So there was one part where the original family was trying to get away, and the young boy stepped outside the car because he saw the clone standing in front of another car with fire on it. And so the boy got out of the car, and the real boy got out the car and started walking backwards. And while walking backwards, the clone walked backwards into some fire and killed himself. So I'm like, oh, okay. He can somehow control his clone, but everybody else, whatever they do, they seem to be independent of that. And then it turns out, like I said before, at the end of the whole movie, it turns out that the original mom with the twisties and stuff, that was actually a clone the entire time. She switched herself with the little girl, her younger version of herself, when she went into a fun house. So that's the big twist. The clones can't speak English. There is one part where they're down in their little clone city, and the clone in red, the female clone in red, she's basically kind of narrating and telling these people know that I'm different somehow. And the reason they know that I'm different because I act differently. Well, obviously you act differently because you have a soul, and she was able to speak. When she's talking in the movies, she talks like this. She talks very weird. And so to talk like this. So the only reason she's able to talk, because none of the clones can talk. If you're down there in the clone city, you do not know how to talk whatsoever. You're essentially just a hollow shell. So the clones don't talk. She does. The only reason she talks is because she was a little girl in the beginning who got switched around. The clone that switched herself around, who became the woman with the twisties, she essentially learned how to talk by basically being around humans. So obviously, because it's long. It's a long story. It's a long, drawn-out story. But if you've made it this far in the video, either you've seen the movie or, you know, you're kind of semi-interested in whatsoever, I've definitely spoiled the entire movie for you. If you want a movie to see when tickets are like $5 like on a Tuesday, or $5 on a Wednesday at a Warren, this is the movie to see. Opening, like paying any more than $5 to see this movie, When it hits Redbox, you might want to pick it up, you know, if you want something interesting to watch. But it's definitely not going to give you that scary feeling that the trailers kind of get you. Not a lot of characters in this movie. There's probably, let's see, you got the main four, you got the red four, which is the clones, that's just the same people, and then you got a white family, which has 4 in it. So essentially this whole movie has about 8 to 10 different people, and that's it. So don't expect a big cast, and expect to be thoroughly bland. So anyways, so cash review. I only did this video because a friend of mine, she wanted me to give her some thoughts on it. So if you like this video, thumbs up, thumbs down, don't matter. I don't do it for the likes. I just do it because, you know, I get bored. All right, y'all. Peace.